Shabbat Shalom, Israel, Judah. This is your brother DFG getting in flight. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying your Shabbat. I hope you're in a place where you can celebrate Shabbat. And I hope you're remembering, as always, the importance of Shabbat. And if you have forgotten, I just want to remind you. So if you happen to be out and about somewhere, my dear brothers and sisters, because it's Saturday, and you're not recognizing that, the Shabbat in terms of its importance to you, then let your brother remind you that Abba Yah looks upon all of Israel. If you're an Israelite, Abba Yah is looking upon you. Now we know about, 2 Chronicles 16:9. What does it tell us? That the spirit of Elohim, Abba Yah, Yahuwah, goes throughout the whole earth. Why? To look for those, to show himself strong in the hearts of those who love him, or those who keep his commandments. And one of his greatest commandments is remember the Shabbat and to keep it holy. So we're not only celebrating Shabbat because, the commandment is there, which is essential and extremely important, but we also celebrate Shabbat because it allows us to be in union with Abba Yah. He gives us a day to refresh, to reflect, to spend time with those, of who we love. If you have, loved ones around you, it's also for you to again remember whose servant you are. And when you know whose servant you are, then you can call upon, the head master, Abba Yah, the King of all kings. And he will hear your prayers. Let us not forget what we learned, from Solomon, one of our great kings. What did he say in Proverbs 28:9? That Abba Yah hears the prayers of those who keep the Torah. So that would mean Abba Yah hears the prayers of those who keep the Shabbat. Okay, brothers and sisters? And that means he's going to bless you. He's going to protect you. He's going to encourage you. He's going to look after your seed. He's going to heal your body. He will heal, your resources. He will heal, your influence. Whatever it is you require of Abba Yah. When we are obedient unto him, my dear brothers and sisters, he hears our request, the world called prayers. He hears our request. If you're locked in a situation where there's a level of uncertainty in your life, well, when you keep the Shabbat, that's the time that you go before Abba Yah and ask him to break the yoke off of you, break that chain, break that dependency, whatever it might be. Give you the clarity of heart, the clarity of mind, the strength of your ruach, or the strength of your spirit to go ahead and move forward, to get unstuck if you're stuck. So the Shabbat is extremely important to our brothers and sisters. And our study this past Wednesday night, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about that in today's message. But our study, on Wednesday night was how was the Shabbat stolen from Israel and as it relates to its importance? How was it stolen from us? And not just the Shabbat, the importance of all of the Torah. And this is where you want to get your family members, around you, those you love. This is where you want to share this message out to those who are around you or those whom you love. Because many of our people were tied into this movement that happened around 2025 AD. And these clergy people got together. Really, they were Roman priests and Jesuit and bishops, cardinals. And they decided that in order for Rome to rule the whole world, for the whole world to become one world, as they're trying to do today, with NWO, you know what that means, what that's all about. And they understood the only way they could actually get that accomplished, they had to go up against the most mighty force upon the earth. And they had a mighty king serving them, by the way, called Alexander the Great. Their great prince, their great king. But in order to conquer the earth, they knew it had to go beyond physical. It had to become a spiritual battle. And they knew the mightiest force, the most prominent force upon the earth was the Israelites. Today they're called, colored people, or depending on Ibu, wherever they might be, wherever you might be. Some are called Puerto Ricans now, some are called Jamaicans, some called Botswanians and Ghanaians, Ghanaians, from Ghana, Nigerian, African American, Cape Verdean. It doesn't matter wherever they're from, wherever we are on this flat earth. They have given us a new name, a new identity, but more importantly, they gave us, or they defiled us, let me say that the right way, and gave us their religion. Because they knew to conquer that mighty nation, they had to get that nation to back away from their Elohim. Because their Elohim would fight for them. And they knew the history of these people, our people. They knew that there were times when some of our elders, Simeon, for example, how they went into, villages and towns and slaughtered the whole town, 2 brothers. I think it was Simeon and Levi, but don't hold me to that. I think it's those two. Excuse me. They knew about what David had done when him and Saul were at battle, how David had killed 10,000 men. Hell, Saul had killed 1,000. They knew what Joseph had done when him and his brothers, with 600 men, went to fight against 800,000 men and slaughtered 200,000 of them, and they did not lose one man. See, all this history was known to them because all that history is available to us, brothers and sisters. I know many of you may be hearing it for the first time, but that information is available to us as it is to them and always has been, to them. They hid it from us. They hid it in the books. They hid it in the catacombs of the Vatican and up, wherever, I guess in the caves of Ethiopia and Egypt and wherever else in Russia. They hid all these things in their so-called museums, where they keep all of their stolen artifacts. So they know and knew who we were. And they knew that one of us could put 1,000 to flight, 2 of us, 10,000 to flight. So they know it wouldn't even be a fair fight to fight us with their Elohims against our Elohim backing us, with their armies fighting against our people with our Elohim, our Yah backing us up. So what they had to do was to get us to be feeble, to be weak, to be disorganized, to be scattered. And so what they did is they brought religion to us in its many, many, many faces through their universal religion, Catholicism. And then it broke off to everything else and it incorporated other things. And remember this too, brothers and sisters, Catholicism didn't just start in Rome. Catholicism had other names, Kemet. They had the other, religions well before that. And you've heard your brother talk about it, before, all these transformations of their gods. There are 3 gods, their Trinity gods, their Father God, their Mother God, and their Son God. And it made it all the way down into Rome, and then Rome took it and packaged it up nice, and then they pushed it right back out. But this time Rome knew that they had to include one major group. And that was us. And they knew our people wouldn't be easily to turn away from the Torah. So what they did is attach their book, their New Testament book, to our Torah. And then sold us the whole thing as one big package. And then over the span of time, and by the way, many of our elders fought against that. Just for the record, I know some of our people saying, how could they be so gullible and allow them to put a lying text next to the truth? They're forbidden, text to an absolute truth. Well, it didn't happen without a fight, brothers and sisters. Our early ancestors fought against the New Testament. See, that's what they don't tell you about in the churches, but you can go and look it up. We fought against that. We rejected that book. They tried to integrate it inside of the Torah, and we wouldn't have it. Then over the scope of time, through financing and money and secret societies, different cults and Freemasonry and all of this other wickedness that Solomon and those who came, the Knights Templars and all of these jokers, that's why they were able to finance the Torah by saying, we will finance the Torah, but you have to let us attach our book to your book. We won't destroy your promise. We just have to put our promise for our people. But slowly, but surely, and using their resources, using torture, using their wealth, sending out their lying messengers, using extreme violence, they were able to integrate it by putting it next to our book and then ultimately telling us that the Torah was no longer relevant for Israel. It was a new world order, a one world religion, serving one Father God, one Mother God, and one resurrected heathen God called Jesus. And our people, over the scope of time, because we lost our identity, because we turned from the Torah, then, as Isaiah said, we lost who we were too in the process. And now there's some counterfeit group over in the Middle East, West Asia, claiming to be us, scattered in some places, predominantly in the United States. But we don't give a shit about them. And excuse me, but I'm just being transparent. But when it comes down to our people, our history, brothers, this was strategically done, sisters and brothers, and to put us in a position where we would be polluted inside and out, to the point where now being lured, what I mean by lewdness means that people doing anything that come to their mind to do and being applauded and celebrated. The most wicked behavior a person can conjure up. Our people now have become lewd in embracing it. Things that we would have never considered. We never would have considered homosexuality. We already knew what the book said about if a man lied with a man or sleeping with animals. We already knew what our Torah said about that. Eating unclean foods. We knew about that. And the many other things that our Torah had taught us, that have preserved us and kept us, strong and united and connected to our Abba Yah. And so I'm just going to go to the book that was hidden in plain sight, unfortunately, in many cases. In some instances they were not. So I'm not going to imply that these books were easy to get their hands on. You had to almost be a wealthy person to get your hands on what they would call a Bible, 600, 700, 800 years ago. You had to be a part of the elite, the boule, the church of England, church, of Rome, to get your hands on this tool that many of us now have in our possession called the Bible that we take for granted. We just look at it just like some other little book on the bookshelf. As a matter of fact, in more cases than not, we see it as the least important book on the bookshelf. Except somebody die or you go into church, the Bible almost never comes to mind for most of our people. And, that's not a criticism. That was conjured up. That was intentionally done. It was done intentionally. They said, no, they do it. It was done intentionally so they can get you to refocus off of Abba Yah to a replacement theology and a replacement God called the Son of God, the resurrected one, the Savior of all mankind, Jesus, or Yahushua, whatever name they want to call him. Ottawa, who cares what the names? Camp's got a whole nother verbiage they use over there, but it's all the same person. They'll tell you it isn't, but that's only because they're deceived. So our objective on this past Wednesday was to try to clear up some of this, try to get some understanding on how did we get in the state where religion became prominent for our people. Not relationship, religion. We were never told to be a religious people. We were told to be a called out nation of like-minded believers serving one sovereign Abba Yah. Never told to be a part of a religion. Just an assembled group of like-minded Torah-keeping Israelites. So our objective this past Wednesday, again, was to bring some clarity, not all inclusive, but to bring some clarity so that our people might have some understanding of how we ended up in the mess that we're in today called religion. That is full of sorcery, black magic, idolatry, witchcraft, voodoo, hoodoo, yoga, Kemetism, Hinduism, Buddhism. Just a big, giant bowl of filthy manure. And God's saying in these last days, brothers and sisters, it's time to take a bath, to take a hot shower, and get that filth off of you, except you be thrown out into the sewer with the rest of the heathens. Praise Yahuwah. So therefore, that's where we are. That's our intent. The Shabbat allows this kind of time for reflection, for understanding, for fellowship, for study, for regeneration, for motivation, for hunger, to be released from the chains. Like Isaiah 58 said, when you fast, you're fasting to break the yokes off of others who are in bondage. And again, if that bondage is you and you're stuck, then, Shabbat is the time to get unstuck. But you can't get unstuck by doing nothing or chanting. And a lot of our people don't realize it, but they're chanting. They're just saying the same thing over and over, doing the same thing over. Abba Yah say, come and seek me, get instruction from me, and then act. Seek my face, hear my instruction, and then act. Seek my face, Brother Adrian, put this down for your brother. Seek my face, hear my direction, and then react to Abba Yah's commandments. And then you'll see what he has in store for you. You will see he heard your prayers. You will feel the reward of the blessings of Elohim that maketh a man rich, or one man rich, that adds no sorrow with it. But we have to be careful that when we go before Abba Yah, and Abba Yah has heard us, that we respond to what we have heard. We don't, because otherwise you're going to find yourself doing nothing different than when you go in any place, a Buddhist temple or some Catholic mosque, some Islam mosque or some Catholic church where you'll hear people in there, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed is the fruit of our womb. Blessed is I can't even say the damn chant anymore, but anyway, you'll be sitting over there reciting the rosary over there, but you're not reciting the rosary. You're just doing the same thing or repetitive action in your prayers, and that is no different than someone sitting over there chanting or reciting the rosary bead or the Muslim beads that they use or any of those other occultic, entities, how they serve their gods. So be mindful of that. When we were told by Solomon or by Yahuwah, who told Solomon, if you go back and read 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 12, Yahuwah says, if my people, Israel, would humble themselves, in other words, take away your pride, I'm saying, and seek him, pray towards him, honor his Torah. Because in honor his Torah, it means turn from their wickedness. Turn from your wickedness. And your wickedness is not doing some criminal act out there. You can be wickedness of stubbornness. There can be wickedness of rebellion. There can be wickedness of self-deception. Putting things on Abba Yah that Abba Yah never said. Putting words in Abba Yah's mouth. Or diminishing the power of Abba Yah's word, saying, well, he knows my heart. That is also wickedness. And so when we say, or when we go before Yah and he says, confess your wickedness, that's what he's saying. Your external and your internal wickedness, our internal wickedness. The things we think that we don't understand he hears. The things we do that we wouldn't consider evil, but they're in violation of his Torah. That he's definitely looking at it as wicked. I'll give you one more example, then we're going to get in the book. Think about the 12 spies. When Abba Yah told them, when he took us out of our first captivity, or at least our Egyptian, African captivity, and he brought us into the land which he identified as milk and honey, or he brought us so that we can brought us into Sinai, in the land of Sinai, in the wilderness, so he can bring forth and reintroduce us to our Torah, because our Torah was taken away from us when we were in our first captivity, as it was taken away from us in this captivity. That's why they gave us Christianity and Islam and all those other religions that never had a problem with us practicing any of those other religions. But when we start to say we're Israelites and we believe and we practice the Torah, now now all of a sudden, the proverbial shit is hitting the fan. Now they're angry and they're bitter. Because that's the truth. And they don't want us in the truth. Because they know there's power attached to that truth. Unstoppable power that they could do nothing to stop. If we came together as a unit, as a nation of people crying out to our Abba Yah. And he hears us now. And that's why he's gathering their troops together all over the earth for the final battle for Israel. But again, let's stay in context. Your brother can go out but come back in. I'm not going to lose you. Just hear your brother out. But anyway, so when we were out in the wilderness, one of the things that we were told by our Yah, that he would give us the land of Jordan, a land that was plentiful of milk and honey, prosperity, all the things we need to have our best life as Israelites. And Moses, decided to send out 12 men to go and search out the land. And whether or not Abba Yah gave them the authority to do that, that's debatable. But they decided to do it anyway. And so when those 12 went out and came back, 10 of the 12 decided that in order to achieve the objective, it was going to be too difficult. It was going to cost too much. They didn't want to put their lives on the line. And so they came back with the book says, an evil report. And I bring that to you because when they came back and started questioning Abba Yah's commandment to go into that land, Abba Yah called it an evil report. And I bring that out because sometimes when we start talking about wickedness, we think that if somebody got to be out there, selling their body or selling drugs or committing, acts of extreme violence, which are all wicked. But guess what, brothers and sisters? Questioning Abba Yah, questioning his commandments, is equally, in the eyes of Abba Yah, wickedness. He said they brought back an evil report. And their report was just saying, hey, man, we can't, they're giants over there. We'd be like grasshoppers over there, the Nephilim over there. Hey, for all those people who said, the Nephilims died in the flood, that's a lie. There were Nephilims over there. And you go back and you read Exodus, you'll find out for yourself. Joshua too. But they said there were giants over there. And we'd be like grasshoppers. Now you think the size of a grasshopper compared to a 5-foot woman or a 6-foot man. And you tell me if you were that grasshopper and you were looking up at a 5-foot woman or a 6-foot man and you wouldn't call that a giant or a Nephilim or Elud whatever they were. They were there. But again, without going too far out and trying to keep this nice and neat, they came back and they questioned Abba Yah and said that, we can't overtake them. They're too mighty and they're too strong. And for that, all 10 of them were destroyed. What I mean by destroyed, Abba Yah took their lives. When? Over the 40-year period? No. Very soon after they gave that evil report questioning Abba Yah's word. It's what I'm saying to my brothers and sisters. So all evil is not, some direct violation of the Torah. It's also a direct violation of Abba Yah's truth. If he wrote it, it is in his word, then it is the truth. And none of us have any authority to question his truth. And the minute you start doing that, you better start looking over your shoulder, left or right, because you're about to get yourself in some deep doo-doo, poop, manure, dung, crap. HSHIT is about to come. The moment you start questioning his word and deciding how that word applies to you or others. When you decide how to apply it, not how Abba Yah said it is written. His words are clear, concise, and they last forever. Did I say it? And should it not be done? Is not what he quoted? I'm Abba Yah. I'm not a man. I don't change. My words are forever etched in stones and heavenly tablets. You don't add to my word. You don't take away from my word. You don't put addendums like a New Testament until next to my Torah and Tanakh. You don't hide my books from my people in your attempts to say they weren't canonized, or deny my people, better said, to access those books when those books have been unsealed, and tell my people that they're not authorized. All of those who are doing that, all of those who are saying that, are in danger of destruction. And if it happens to be you, it is time to repent. Everything I said to you, you can validate for yourself in your Bible. If you choose to really want to know the truth. If you truly want to be free. If you truly want to be blessed of Abba Yah. Because he's looking to bless you. Let's get that clear. Our book said, matter of fact, let's do that, and then we're going to come right back here and get right on in, get to work on this Shabbat. But go with me to 2 Chronicles, brothers and sisters. And I always tell you, be like a carpenter. When you come to work over here, when you come to this backup channel or the DFG, our people, the followers, those like-minded believers, such as ourselves, when you come over here, as we said many, many times to you before, come like a carpenter. Always have your hammer and your saw. Praise Yah. Don't. This is not a hangout spot. This is where we learn and study out the word. This is how we get closer to Abba Yah. That's what we do here. And in order to be a master builder, you have to come ready to put in some work. All right, brothers and sisters. So I only bring that out just so that we have some clarity there. But again, go to 1 Chronicles, chapter 16. Second Chronicles, not that. I've said this thing 1,000 times. Okay. I'm thinking ahead of myself. Abba Yah, slow your brother, slow your son down, your servant down. 2 Chronicles 16 and 9. And here's how I read, brothers and sisters. For the eyes of Yahuwah, not Jesus, not Buddha, not Thor, not Apollo, not Semiramis, not Tammuz, not Ra. The eyes of Yahuwah run to and fro, going backwards and forwards, throughout the whole earth, that's in its entirety, to show himself, Yahuwah, show himself strong in behalf, that's on behalf, or as a representative of those or them, us, those of us, whose heart is perfect towards Abba Yah, Yahuwah. Get it? For the eyes of Yahuwah run to and fro throughout the whole earth to show himself strong in your life if your heart is towards Yahuwah. So Yahuwah is going all over this earth looking for like-minded believers who keep the Torah, who honor our ancestors writing from the Tanakh, who are assembling themselves and learning together and being obedient, not conflating his word, not adding to his word, not changing his word, not subtracting from his word. He's going throughout the whole earth to do mighty works in the lives of those individuals. As the old saying, getting it straight from the source. Uncut, no chaser. You want to see Abba Yah manifest his strength in your life? Then give your life to Abba Yah by being obedient. Not questioning him, not doubting him. Clean up your thoughts, not over there perpetuating. Chasing, the things of men versus trusting Abba Yah. Hanging out inside the heathen churches and religions and other provisions that they're so easy and willing to provide if they can control by coming out and trusting, Abba Yah, showing himself strong in you, and then going out there knowing that he's going to be with you when you leave. He's going to be with you when you come out. Not going to abandon you. He doesn't want you in those places. And if he's going to show himself strong, simply means that you're going to see mighty works done, by him in your own doings. He's going to guide your footsteps. He's going to guide your hands. And most importantly, he's going to increase your wisdom. To the paper chasing for materialism, how about paper chasing for knowledge through his Torah? Chase the paper, the book. That's the only paper chasing that's going to pay off eternally. All the rest of it goes away with time. You can lose your life with that paper chasing, the world's paper chasing, but you find life in Abba Yah's paper chasing. All right, let's get on over to the book of Maccabees. All right, so we're going to pick up First Maccabees chapter 34, and it reads, "And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein." You know what? The city of David that you hear them talking about right now, brother. Even Camp David. Show you how wicked these heathens are, even in America. Camp David is what their so-called secret place for the leadership or the governing bodies of America in their fortified Camp David. See, nothing new under the sun. And if you go right over there, to the pretenders are, don't they have a city of David over there? And I can assure you, it's extremely fortified. It's full of Gentiles. But I'm getting ahead of myself. But I just want to give you something and just show you, brother. This almost sounds like a history lesson. It is right here sitting in front of in our Bibles, brothers and sisters. Especially if you got a King James Bible with the apocryphal books, 1611 with the apocryphal books, King James, or a cipher Bible, or any of the Bibles that have the apocryphal books in them. There was a time when where they weren't available, but they're plentiful now. They just don't have enough people who want it. But it's here, and that's why we're going to be those who reject this truth. You're not going to have an excuse. Well, I didn't know. Well, you should have known. What Abba Yah is going to say. Well, I was doing all these great things for you. He said, did you keep the Torah? Huh? Did you keep the Torah? What Torah? Okay. Next, you're going to hear a big boom sound, flash of lightning, flash of fire, and then a heat blast. And then you'll hear the word, last thing you'll hear before you hear screaming is, next. Again, verse 34. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men who fortified themselves therein. And they stored in it also ammunition, armor, weapons, and victuals, food. And when they had gathered together all the spoils of Jerusalem, they stole all of our stuff again. That's one thing that the heathens specialize in, is stealing from Abba Yah's people. Even in our communities, the highest gas prices, the highest, grocery prices. They set up little snares and traps to give you traffic tickets and things that would consider a violation of the law, so knowing that you're the poorest people, but yet because you don't have any way to defend yourself, you have to pay, or you go to prison and then you pay with your life or your body. Nothing new under the sun. And if you resist enough, they will kill you. Nothing new under the sun. That's why they have the armor, the weapons that they don't want you to have, but they gladly arm their police officers with, and other so-called enforcement of their heathen laws. Not for Abba Yah's laws and Torah, no, for their heathen laws. So you men and daughters of Zion who want to protect the law as they are armed to protect their laws, arm yourself so you can protect yourself as you obey Abba Yah's Torah in those laws. Because trust me, brothers and sisters, you're going to need it. You're going to need it. I'm talking about the weaponry for standing on Abba Yah's truth, for clarity. Verse 36. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary and an evil adversary to Israel. So they built these forts, and so that they could take and never let us regroup again, never let us come up again, never let us be a people again. And so they put their churches, their military, their police, their overseers, their taskmasters, all among us to make sure that the name of Israel is no more. And see, here's your cross reference right here to Psalms 83. They put, how you say, informants all over us, religious informants, I might add. Why do you think the main channel here, received a strike? It wasn't because anything I said. They went and found anything they could find, because probably one of those content creators, one of those who heard me calling them out, it could be the master's voice, or it could be the Maya flute, or the Bishop Nathaniel idiots. It's one of them, I can assure you. They didn't like what I was saying. So they reported me. And they had to go back a whole year to find something that supposedly I said that was a violation of their community guidelines. They're going to work hard to take us down, brothers and sisters, and they will succeed in time. That's why you want to take advantage of this time right now that we have amongst each other. And by the way, those of you who are understanding with depth understanding, we are going to have to come together as a community. You cannot be an outlier out there by yourself. They're going to hurt you. I'm telling you this. I know your heart is right. Your intentions are good. Well, I know Abba Yah will protect me. That's only if you are right in doing the things of Abba Yah, and you're holding on to this absolute truth, doing everything that is, that is demanded of you in the Torah. And then if you can't do anything, then he will pour the wall of fire around you. Talking about before it's coming out. But that's a few of us. That's not many of us. There's some of us who are just conveniently sitting around to wait and see what's going to happen. And you know what that reminds me of? This. And I'm going to come back to this, brothers and sisters. This book is a book about what happened in New Orleans with Hurricane Katrina. And I want to show you something as a reminder. This would happen to people who decided to just sit around, and wait for their government to figure it out for them. Because surely the government would never, betray me or leave me behind. Well, let me tell you something here. You tell me when I can stop showing, when you get tired of seeing people, and you tell me if these people don't look like they were left behind by the government. How about that? Does she look like she's in a safe, good situation? Oh, by the way, that's water almost to the roof. How about this? Water rising, help. See, and I bring this out because, that's some of Israel. We really think that we can just wait and do nothing, and somebody's going to come for you. Look at this. Look at that. This wasn't 50 years ago. Look at the tears of our babies. You know why these babies are crying? Because their mothers and fathers were distracted, living their best life now, enjoying themselves, and never thinking about the consequences of what judgment could look like. Yes, exactly what you think it is. That's what it is. Look at this. Look at this. You see when that judgment comes from the sky upon this wicked earth, you don't want this to be you. And if you out there trusting in man, on your government, thinking that somehow or another your government is going to come to your rescue, young man, this gonna be you. Oh, and here's your loving government. And I could give you more of that, but I just want to give you a snapshot. Oh, it's America, that could never happen. Well, it happened. But this time, it's not going to even be, if it is a government, they're going to be coming with big, giant, transfer vehicles bringing you over to FEMA camps to ship you off. A lot of those people who were caught up in Katrina got shipped off to all kind of places. They got scattered all over the United States, and many of them, here it is, 18 years later, are still scattered in those places. Never able to go back home. Nothing to go back home to. Most of them still don't know where their family members are. Many of them don't know. I shouldn't say most, but many of them have no idea where their family members are, nor their family members know if they're dead or alive. And that was a half-day event. What do you think is going to happen when the grid go down and everything else happens? And you out there by yourself, not connected with a body of people, a assembled group of people, like-minded people. What do you think is going to happen to you? I just gave you a picture of it. Are you ready for that? Because if you don't want that to be your truth, then it's time to come with other like-minded people who are walking in the truth as we plan our escape. Okay, let's get back to the word. And thus they shed the innocent blood as they were waiting around our sanctuary where our people gathered. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary, and they defiled it. by coming in with their unclean things. Their unclean food, their unclean artifacts, their unclean clothing, their unclean, mindsets. They defiled it. Matter of fact, the heathen wasn't even supposed to come into our sanctuaries. That's why, I remind some of you, don't get it. Well, bring him on and he loves everybody. He might love the heathen, but the heathen is not allowed amongst us. They're around the gates. The foreigners, something else. Because you can have a foreigner that's related to your foreigner. But there are standards by which they have to abide by as well. And without question, there's a clear separation between Israel and everyone else. And because we allowed that to be defiled, that's why we're in the situation. Because instead of us standing and holding the line, we release the line and just say, like Christianity, oh, everybody come here. Everybody's my brother, as long as you love Abba Yah. No. If they keep the commandments of Abba Yah and they're Israel, then they're your brother. If they keep the commandments of Abba Yah, and though they be not your brother, then they are a stranger. And there are laws inside the Torah that applies to them, as there are laws in the Torah applies to us. Including laws that we don't do with them. And this was one of them. They allowed them to come into the sanctuary. And the sanctuary was laid, verse 38. And so much that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them. Whereupon the city was made a habitation of strangers. The city was made an habitation of strangers. That's why it was defiled. And became strange to those that were born in her. And her own children left her. And her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning, or crying, or suffering. Her Shabbat into a reproach, and her honor into contempt. Talking about Jerusalem. That is the bride of Elohim, us, our people. When it says her. Our feasts were turned, our feasts were no longer relevant. Our Shabbat we weren't allowed to keep. And our honor was walked on and stepped on. Taken away from us. Verse 40. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into suffering. See, all these people who want to tell you that somehow or another, it's just because so-called black people don't work together and that's why they're so far behind. No, we're behind because of an intentional, act on our people's behalf to reject Abba Yah, reject Abba Yah's Torah, turn away from his Torah, turn away from his truth, and then build alliances and partnerships with the heathens and embrace their religions. That's why we're in the situation that we're in. Anybody telling you something else, they're either deceived or they're lying intentionally. This got nothing to do about black people can't get along with black people. That's foolishness. That's the lies they tell you as a throwaway statement to keep you from focusing on what the hell they're doing. Words of deceit, words smooth like butter. No, we are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Hosea 4:6. Because why? We reject Abba Yah and his Torah. That's why we're in the situation that we're in. And yes, we were a blessed and mighty people many, many times throughout our history. And we will be again. Make no mistake about it. The question, will you be with us, Israel? You in particular. That's the question you should be asking yourself. Am I going to be with that 1/3 that's getting in, or am I going to be with that 2/3 that's going to be destroyed into eternal damnation? Fire, burning. Because that's Yah's plan. And there's nothing you can do to change it. Nothing any of us can do to change Abba Yah's plan. To redeem 1/3 and destroy the other 2/3 right along with the rest of the heathens. The 2/3 who reject the Torah, who still practice what the heathens practice, who still love what the heathens love. But let us continue on here. Verse 40. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into suffering. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. That coexist stuff you see on these cards, just accept everybody, accept all religions. See, that's the lies of the rulers of the darkness of this world who came up with that coexist stuff. Christianity, Islam, whatever those letters represent. And you got all our people saying, well, it doesn't matter, it's all the same thing. You are a liar. Our Elohim is not the Elohim of this world. He's the creator of it, but he's not the demons, gods. And you are blasphemy, and you need to repent if that's what you think. Right here, you see the king using religion to get everybody in bed with him. His religion, their religion, I might add, the one world religion. And I can assure you there'll be one person who's not welcomed into that religious assembly, and that is Israel, who are keeping Abba Yah's Torah and commandments. And Tanakh. Oh no, we're not going to be invited into that party. Therefore, we need to be a called out assembly, with resources, ready to move at a moment's notice. Untie anything that's got you tied down. Untie it, brothers and sisters. So that when it's time to move, you can move. Verse 42. And everyone should leave his laws. This is the king's commandments. And everyone should leave their own laws, so that the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. And yes, many of Israel consented to the king's religion. Roman religion. Emperors and kings were the same people, for some of you all who may not know that. Many times many times I said that wrong. The Pope and emperors and kings, in many cases, were the same. Those positions were synonymous. They were all considered one position at different times, depending where you were. But many of the emperors were popes. That's how Christianity became the one world religion. What if they know, brother? They had Islam. Yeah, all of that came out of that. Remember, Christianity wasn't Christianity. That wasn't the original name. That was the name it metamorphed into. I said it earlier. These gods have just changed over the millenniums, but they're the same gods. Different names, different times, but different rulership. And if you're worshiping Jesus and Mary and all of that, then or the G-O-D, that's who you calling your Elohim, G-O-D, then that reverse it back with us. That G-O-D, D-O-G, just turn it around, and now you know who you're worshiping. Dagon. That's who you're worshiping. And if you look up Dagon, the god Dagon, it's going to be a god with the head of a dog. You reverse the word dog around, you got God. Now, you don't have to believe me. That's up to you. I'm not even here trying to convince you. I'm just trying to get you to think. As Abba Yah called me to do, I might add. Verse 42 and verse 43. Read that again. Yes, and many of Israel consented to the king's religion and sacrificed unto idols. They were praying to these statues, praying to the cross, wearing the cross on their churches, crosses in their houses, crosses on their clothing. Idolatry. Flat out idolatry. Praying to a cross or honoring a cross or giving, reference to a cross is idolatry. The heathen's religion, or better said, the king's religion, and Israel went right over there with him. You go over there to Joel Osteen, you're going to see that cross. You go over there to T.D. Jakes, you're going to see that same cross. Potter's house. Doesn't matter where you go, where the heathens are, that cross is going to be there. Because that's representative of their God. But you don't take my word for it. At judgment, you'll see I was right. And they profaned the Shabbat. They didn't keep it. And they did whatever they wanted to do on so-called day of Shabbat, including trying to change it now again to Thursday and Wednesday. And for all you out there playing that little mind game with them, brothers and sisters, they changed the calendar. There's no way for them to know what day is day. So we have one universal day that Abba Yah has not reframed or not told us we could not, and we all should be doing it on one unified day if we want to see Abba Yah shows himself in one unified strength. And that day is identified as Saturday right now. And anybody keeping it any other day, I will tell you, you're deceiving yourself. You think you're in some truth. And you're not. You're, again, running after shiny things. Or clever words. Look at me, I'm important. See, y'all don't know the Shabbat. Yeah, right. And we're looking at your life. Your life don't look too damn healthy to us. Like you're having a hard road to hoe. Like you're having a hard time over there. Let us tell it. If you're right, why we don't see the power of Abba Yah in your life? You Wednesday Shabbat, Thursday Shabbat keepers. Okay, enough of that. Verse 44. For the king sent the Cyprian by messengers of the book, by messengers to Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land. And again, these heathens telling us, obey those who have authority over you. For thus says Elohim, are the same agents, the same Israelites that were telling the people to do what you just heard your brother do. How he says, and many also of Israel consented to their religion. Again, the same people who are telling you to obey those who have authority over you and telling you that's what Abba Yah wants you to do. When we just showed you over in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verses 2 and 3, he said, don't you dare do it. And they're sitting there telling you to do it anyway. I'm sorry, 17 and 15. Deuteronomy chapter 17 and 15. Deuteronomy 17, 15. That you have no stranger over you that is not of your brethren. And these lying deceivers are sitting there telling our people, because they're doing the same thing that our early ancestors were done, not the earliest, but in the times of Macedon and of Alexander. Let me say that right. In the time of Alexander, it's the exact thing they were doing with those popes. And these people are still doing it. They started with Alexander, and it's still going on right now, or King Antiochus. And still going on right now today. That's why the heathens worship the same way they worship, or the way many of us used to worship. On our knees, praying to a cross, or a man on a cross. Saying that man saved us, and that man couldn't even save himself. In the garden, crying like a little baby. If the story is even true. Let us continue on. In verse 45, and they forbid the burnt offerings and the sacrifice and the drink offering. These are the feast days ceremonies and things that, and we could do those. And when we get back into our land, brothers and sisters, we will keep all of the feast days in their entirety. I had a sister ask recently, a dear sister, great heart. She wanted to know, Brother DFG, what feast days do I keep? Do I do the fire offerings? I said, no, sister, don't do that. Because you live in an apartment complex, or you live, in some of these communities where they have no, fire laws and no burning things, you can get in a whole lot of trouble. And then and some of our people don't have the resources to buy goats and different things. So you have to kind of scale it back and do what you can do. I do say do what you can do. But Abba Yah understands that there are limitations put in by these filthy, wicked heathens when they brought us in captivity. But it doesn't mean do nothing, though. But they forced our people to follow their laws. And in addition to that, they forbid us to practice the feast days. And they taught us to profane the Shabbat by telling us the Shabbat was Sunday, the day of sun worship. And told our people that they could worship the sun on Sunday and it will all be the same. And we're not realizing when they worship the sun, that's idolatry. And if they tell me, well, it's not the sun, it's the sun. How did it spell the day out? Come on, spell it out. Come on. S, come on. U, come on. N, come on. Then D, come on. A, come on. One more. You can do it. Y, sun, day, worship. To profane the Shabbat. Verse 46, and pollute the sanctuary of the holy people, mean pollute our sanctuary, Israel's sanctuary, and set up altars and asterisk poles in the chapels of their idols. And most of these churches, you know, they got little chapels in the marriage chapels, council chapels, all kind of little chapels, you know, Bible study chapels, all kind of little things they're doing over there. They ain't teaching the truth over there though. Or they're teaching a watered down version of the truth. A truth that's palatable. You know, a truth that makes everybody feel good. When I just hug each other. A truth that burns away evil and wickedness and brings us and purifies us and refines us. Like gold is refined and silver is refined. A Bible study, I'm not making you a little bit uncomfortable and making your eyes get double sized, you're probably in the wrong group. If they're serving tea and crackers, you're in the wrong group. Verse 47, and they set up altars and asterisk poles and chapels of idols, and they sacrificed pig's flesh, pork, and unclean beast. And unclean beast is rabbits and raccoons, and, you know, all of those things that, you know what I'm saying, that you should, squirrels, possums, stuff that our people out there in the woods hunting and bringing home and putting on their table. Unclean animals. We're never supposed to put those things in our bodies. Ever. We're not even supposed to touch them with our hands unless our hands are covered. And a lot of our people, I don't say this to you, you go into these restaurants and fast food places or whatever, and they're frying stuff while you better make sure they're not frying that stuff in lard or pig plus or whatever lard comes from. The skin or grease inside that pig is, it's pig's fat. You can't fry something in pig fat and then eat it and say it's clean. The fat of the lard is going to go, the grease is going to go all through the meat. So you're eating the greasy fried chicken that was fried in lard, then you're eating pork. That's a small example, but there are many, many other examples. A lot of our people love breakfast. But it's turkey bacon. How was it prepared? Because these things are destroying our bodies. Unclean beast, verse 48, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable within the manner of all uncleanness and profanity. Leave your children and expose your children to all of this profanity, this cussing. Got these little boys and girls doing these little, shaking their little asses, what they call that, I forgot, not twerking and whatever else. Profaning themselves. The parents are teaching the children to profane themselves because the heathen produced that music and they market that music to our children and our young men and young women, and before you know it, they're doing these wicked occultic dances and they don't even know it. These demons have now got into the little baby body, and now the little 2-year-old girl is literally shaking her little booty in front of some little 5-year-old boy. And all the adults are sitting around there applauding it. That's where the book just said that what make the souls, they again, verse 48, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls, that their minds, the way they think, what they understand, make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanliness and profanity. Feeding these children things that they shouldn't be feeding these children, and then got these children doing all kind of sexual, immoral, simulated acts. So when they grow up, they become accustomed to those ways, and ultimately they are going to be destroyed because of those ways and behaviors. The heathen set it up, and wicked Israelites encourages it. I don't see nothing wrong with it. Of course you don't. A dog doesn't see anything wrong eating his own vomit. So, hey, you're not alone. Verse 49, to the end that they might forget the Torah and change all of the ordinances. See what I'm saying, brothers and sisters? This attack is on the Torah. It's on attack of the people of the Torah, us, Israelites. This whole thing that this king was doing, he wasn't doing it for the heathens. He already had the heathens. He was doing it because he wanted to take advantage of Israel. He wanted us because he knew that if he could take our power away from us by getting us to serve their gods, then he could rule the world. And that's exactly what they have done. They have succeeded. But Yah say now the time is up for those heathens. And he's about to judge it all. Praise Abba Yah. Share this message. Thumb it up at this point and share it, brother, because even though it's a backup channel, not a lot of subscribers and viewership, but you can do your part, and whoever you share it to, tell them, hey, be sure to share it too. I think we all would have to agree. What we're learning right now and what's being taught right now is of extreme importance. Don't be the weak link in the chain by holding on to it or don't doing it. Holding on to this message and not sharing it, passing it on. Commenting in it as well, because that's going to increase the algorithms. And I'm not saying it because DFG won't, brothers and sisters, again, they intentionally push me to this secondary channel because they don't want our truth to come out. And if we just sit here and do nothing and let it go, then our complacency is a judgment as well. You heard me talk about that earlier. Thinking about doing something and not doing it. Thinking about doing something and not and doing it is two different things. Too many of our people are in contemplation. They confuse patience with reflection and action. They use clever words like Yah will, which really means they won't. So please pass it on. I beg of you. Verse 50. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said that person should be put to death. And this also is all-inclusive religion comes with a little bonus that if you choose not to obey, they will put you to death. And I want you to think about the colonizers. The conquistadors who went out to the Americas, wherever they went. Did they not come with the cross or with the Islam, the little Star of Islam or whatever it is, or the Star of David? Did they not come with those artifacts with them as they slaughtered the native people all over this flat earth, no matter where they went? Because they were stumping out everything except the king's religion. With an S. Religions. So they're not just, Catholicism. It's Buddhism, I said it, Hinduism, Sakhaism, again, Christianity, Hinduism. Those are the seven. I missed one, but there's 7 major ones and many, many thousands and thousands of lesser ones. All are permitted. None of them are attacked because they're all part of the king's religion. The only one that gets attacked are those who keep the Torah. Because that's our Yah's people and our Yah's relationship and his strength against them. And they know it. Unfortunately, many of us Israelites don't. But we can help them by telling them, sharing them, and living it out, act and being a part of it. Not a hearer, but a doer of the word. Verse 51, in the self-same manner wrote he to the whole kingdom, and he appointed overseers over all the people, commanded the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. That's where your pastors come into play. All of your so-called church leaders come into play. They are overseers watching you to make sure you follow everything that their religious affiliated group are supposed to follow. If you're Pentecostal, you're getting baptized in Jesus' name. If you're Church and God in Christ, you're getting baptized in the name Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. If you're in Christianity, you're getting water baptized. If you're Southern Baptist, you're getting, when you're Christianity, you're getting sprinkled baptized. If you're Southern Baptist, you're going under the water. Full gospel under the water. Non-denomination, they probably ain't baptizing you at all anymore. All the same thing, brothers and sisters, what your brother is saying. Many faces, but the same gods they serve. Beware, lest you be deceived. So they put their overseers to watch our people, to make sure our people followed every wicked rule, law, and idolatrous practice, including the pagan holidays. If you think about most religions, lead the charge for Christmas, lead the charge for Thanksgiving, lead the charge for Easter. Do they not? Midnight Mass. They go in hard for their gods, leading the people. They lead the charge for wickedness, to make sure everybody knows. Mother's Day is coming, Father's Day is coming, brothers. But they don't tell you the origins of those things. A father doesn't need to be celebrated. A father needs to be appreciated. Same thing with a mother. But none of it matters if they don't love Abba Yah. It all goes into the dung, ultimately, if they don't. Hallelujah. So they forsook the Torah, and they committed evils in the land. And they drove Israel, our people, into secret places wherever they could flee for help. And now on the 50th day of the month of Cleve, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar. Now Daniel chapter 12 talks about that, 12 and 11, by the way. Right? Yeah, Daniel 12 and 11 talks about that. See, we thought it was a man standing professing to be the Antichrist. No, it's idolatry in the land of Israel. It's the heathens in the land of Israel. That's the abomination of desolation. As spoken by Daniel the prophet, as being reemphasized right here. It's all about idolatry, sorcery, witchcraft, and being in all the churches. If you think about pay homage to that particular place, if you think about it, they collect money and they use a clever word, those who bless Israel will be blessed. They do all these little things, even though that book is talking about blessing us. But all of them, pay homage to the so-called, Zionist. Them. Write it down and look it up. In verse 50, and they burnt incense at the doors of their houses and industry, and these for these sage burners, S-A-G, sage burners. You need to cut that stuff out. That came from the heathens. Burning incense to get rid of spirits. You bringing those spirits in. You're not putting them out. You're deceived because the odor smells good. You think somehow or another, it smells so great, so, it's divine. No, it's wicked. And when they rent in pieces the Torah, the pages of the Torah, which they found, they burnt them in the fire. So if you think that this Torah is not important, brothers, I thought it was supposed to be done away and not valued, no longer needed, then why were they tearing the Torah up and burning them? I'm talking about in the time of Alexander. That's in the so-called new millennium. This was happening. This was within the last 2,000 years. They were taking Torahs away from our people, or wherever they can find Torahs, and burning them up. Yet they want to tell you, oh, that had no relevance. And this was well after the so-called birth of Jesus and death, I might add. Let me be clear with that too. So it's mighty strange that if he fulfilled the Torah, they still were looking for the Torah to burn them and destroy them. The heathen kings were, I might add. Let that resonate in your brain for a little while. So when you go back to Sunday worship tomorrow, you'll know your pastors and preachers are deceived, or they're deceived and they're deceiving. "57, and whosoever was found with any of the cipher of the covenant," that means the Tanakh as well, "or if any committed to the Torah," it means obeying the Torah, "the king's commandment was that they should be put to death." And if you don't think it's about to happen again, brothers and sisters, all I'm going to tell you, hold on to your hat. You're about to go for a pretty rough ride. Oh, they're coming for us. Why you think they suspended the primary channel? Behind foolishness. Their foolish, not mine. Freedom of speech, but yet you can't speak freely. But the heathens lie. So we should have already expected that. That law was put in place for them, not for us. When I say us, I'm not talking about American citizens. I'm talking about Israel. I don't give a rat's ass about somebody calling themselves an American citizen. What America? This one? That's the one you're so patriotic to, so loyal to? This America? Just asking. This America? That would do that to one of your Israelite brothers? And I could go on and on, but that's enough. Get the book called Without Sanctuary, Lynching Photographs in America, the one you love so much. Some of you. Not us. Not the called out ones. We know better now. So anybody that was found with a Torah, the king commanded them to be put to death, brothers and sisters. So it's about to get really hot, really fast. "Thus they did by the authority unto Israel every month, as many were found in the cities." So they put out a decree to come against us. Look for them. Look for the Israelites. Look for them. If you find any of them that's got a Bible, kill them. Got the Torah and the Tanakh in their possession, take it, burn it, and kill them. And every month they had a squad, contact tracers, or whatever new name they're gonna have, with their cameras and all this technology. You think the technology is advancement of technology? No, it's end time processors, end time programs to keep an eye on you. So whenever the king commandment is not being obeyed by you, they're going to come and get you. And that's why we need to come together and get called out and put up a fight. And that's why we shouldn't be over there interacting with these heathens thinking that they somehow or another are our source. They're not a source. They're a resource. They're not the source of anything. They're just the resource, a temporary bridge for us to get back home to our people. And if you're sitting over there, pacified over there with them, you're in danger. Because we don't know when something is going to fall. They're not going to tell us. They're going to make you think everything is good. Just like Katrina. I showed you the pictures earlier. On the storm came, I think the 31st of August, 30th of August, it was peace and calm. Matter of fact, the morning of the flooding of New Orleans, there was not a drop of, it was light rain. New Orleans did not flood because of rain. New Orleans flood because of levees overflowing, waterways spilling over. Had nothing to do with, how you say, torrential rains in New Orleans. And don't tell me I don't know, because I was there when it happened. I know all about it. My family, many of my family members lost everything, including my dear mother. 25 feet of water over their homes. Floating bodies all over the place, unalived, drowned. Because our people waited too long. Abba Yah said, the day you hear my voice, listen to me and do what I tell you. And I don't speak, in riddles. And my voice is strong and powerful and clear. And when you hear it, you need to react to it. And if you don't, do not use me as an excuse for judgment against you. His voice is written in the Tanakh. His voice is written in the Torah. Why do you think they're trying to destroy the Tanakh? And why do you think they want to destroy the Torah? Because they know that's where the voice is of Abba Yah. It's been documented for Abba Yah's people. That way we're all on one accord. We're not all getting different revelations. That's confusion. He put it in the book. That way we all can study it and read it and all understand it collectively. As his servants, the teachers, the watchmen, the prophets, bring it out. Verse 59. And on the 5th and 25th day, or the 25th day of the month, they did a sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of Elohim. So here it is, some month on the 25th. They do this ultimate 1 month in the year. On the 25th of this month, they create a sacrifice idol on an altar, which is upon the altar of Elohim. In other words, they make this person take the place of Elohim as far as Elohim's saving power and redeeming power. And December 25th, Christmas, is an abominable, idolatrous, sorcerous, wicked holiday that's celebrating a man who they said did Abba Yah's job for Abba Yah because Abba Yah couldn't do it for men and men couldn't do it for themselves. As though Abba Yah's commandment all of a sudden went kapoof and became sterilized. What a vicious lie. And it's still being practiced and taught in churches all over this flat earth. And I dare any of them to explain this better than what Abba Yah just explained to us in his word. When they start explaining, just remember they're lying. December 25th of the month, they did the sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon on top of Elohim. They elevated their God to the level or above the level of Elohim by saying that their God is your Savior. He's just darker now. He's an Israelite. He's Yahuwah. Crying crocodile tears. Talking about pigs going to the mud. Goodness. Or returning back to the mud. Let me say it the right way, because we were in that mud too. I was in that mud. But the thing, the difference between me and them, when I got out of the mud, I stayed out of the mud. Y'all giving them a chance to come out of the mud. And what they do, they hear this truth and they deny this truth and go right back to the mud. Because they love the stench of religion. They love the stench of idolatry. And they will pay the price for that love. With their souls damned eternally. And it doesn't have to be. They can repent. But they won't. They'll just attack us. Turn us in. Call Facebook on us. Not Facebook, YouTube on us. Can you go over there and put a strike on DFG channel for me, please? You hurt my feelings. Y'all are feeling Your feeling getting hurt is nothing compared to what Yah gonna do to your behind. All right, let's get down to the end here. And at that time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women. See, and I'm telling you, our sisters, a lot of our sisters think, oh no, I'm safe. I'm gonna be all right. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. You know, some of our sisters have gotten very high-minded and arrogant and, you know, and very, you know, disputable, love to challenge the men. Because I can do this by myself. No, you can't. Well, Yah got me. No, he doesn't. Yah has a hierarchy. And trust me, sister, it's still the male over the female, whether you like it or not. You know, Jesus ain't your husband. And you're not one of Abiyah whores. No disrespect to anybody, just for clarity purpose. And they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. So this is for you sisters out here who think you can, well, I'm just going to keep the Torah and do what I'm supposed to do and trust Abiyah to protect me. Well, he didn't protect them. Now again, if you're in a situation where you're physically handicapped, maybe you can't walk, maybe you have some kind of disease that limits your mobility. You know, maybe you're at an age now where you're just too old to go out into the workforce. But those of you who fit that, Abiyah knows that. You don't even have to ask your brother, what about you? Abiyah knows that. As long as you're keeping the Torah, keeping the commandments, and supporting your brothers and sisters who are doing it. You can't be over there by yourself doing your own thing. Sitting on your mountaintop over there, smoking your pipe, reading your Bible. No, you have to be aggressive in every way that you can be aggressive. We need to know where you are, and you need to know where we are. You need to be connected to us, is what I'm saying. To your like-minded brothers and sisters, so that when our prayers go before Abiyah, he will hear yours right along with ours. And remember, Isaac. Remember you, my dear sister, who was in a certain level of bondage that was beyond your control. But if it's beyond your control and you're there, Abiyah is not going to spare you just because you're reading the Torah or practicing the Torah. You have to obey it by walking it out, living it out, doing it. Just saying, this is important, brothers. Many of you brothers, same way. You show up when you want to show up, and then you disappear when you want to disappear. And you think somehow Abiyah is pleased with that. He isn't. He's looking for your consistency. Verse 61, and they hanged the infants about their necks, and they rifled their houses, and they slew them that had circumcised their children, or who had kept the Torah. So the keeping the Torah is not going to necessarily protect you, brothers and sisters. It's going to take Abiyah's will and grace by all of us being obedient as a collective group, a called out assembled group, putting our arrogance aside, our high-mindedness aside. And if you're asked or something, or you're called to do something, here's your mindset. If you're a righteous woman or man, brother of Zion, or righteous stranger, once they show it to you in the book, then you should say, okay, I'm doing it. All right, no problem here. Otherwise, you'll be just like those 10 spies who said, oh no, I see what he's saying, but it's dangerous. I ain't doing that. I'm not going that far. You're asking way too much of me. Well, then you're evil, and you're going to be judged along with the other wicked. Yah is no respecter of persons. If he did it to them, he's going to do it to any of us who take the act of rebellion because we just don't agree with it, because we're not comfortable with what that word says. So we think that we could just do it our way, or you can do it your way. And I'm telling you, you can't. All who tried it paid for it with their lives. And I suspect most of them are going to be damned eternally for their disobedience, for their rebellion. That's what Saul got in trouble with. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to do what makes me feel comfortable, but I'm not going to do the part that I don't necessarily agree with. Because I personally don't agree, and I know Abba Yah will understand. Isn't that what Saul did? And when Samuel came to Saul and said, what's this noise I'm hearing? You saying you have obeyed the commandment. Well, I did everything but this. But, the people, I didn't want to get in conflict with the laws of the land and things like that. So therefore, I decided not to do this little bit. But it ain't no big deal. I did everything else. He said, son, you're messed up. So you realize that you not doing this now makes you a witch, an idolater. That's what he called him. Just for not keeping the Torah and keeping the commandments as he was instructed to do in full. So we don't have there's no room, for flex. There's no room to be flexible here. This is a straight line truth. You're all the way in or you're all the way out. 99.9% is not going to cut it on this one, brothers and sisters. And a lot of this stuff that happened to these people, it happened to these people because these people aligned themselves up with the heathens. Because see, had they not been living amongst those heathens, by their own free will, I might add, because remember over here, don't forget, and everyone should leave his laws. And so the heathens agreed according to the commandments of the king. I'm talking about, Maccabees 1. Matter of fact, you go back to Maccabees. Let's go to I'm going to come back over here. Look at Maccabees 1 and 12. No, Maccabees, first Maccabees 1 and 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and cut a covenant with the heathen that are all around about us. For since we departed from them, we've had so much trouble. So they devised, so this device pleased the people, and then certain of the people were so forward therein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do the ordinance after the heathen. Start keeping their religion, start living amongst them, start compromising with them, start educating our kids with their system, start introducing our kids to their lewd behavior, their wicked behavior, their rebellious behavior, etc. That's why these women were attacked. And Abba Yah did not defend them, whether they were in the Torah or not, because they allowed the heathens in. They were confederate with the heathens, not understanding the heathens were never going to be confederate with us or them. Had they been set apart in our own land among our own people, this never would have happened. And we're going to study that, by the way, later on. How that many of our mighty men got together, and guess what? Instead of our women and children being slaughtered and hanged, those men protected them. So you out there by yourself talking about, Yah sees you, Yah got you. Yeah, but are you sure about how you're going to get got when the heathens come? Because if he's not a respecter of persons, and these people allowed the heathens inside with them, or been convinced that it was okay to be amongst them, I don't see them getting rescued, and they were keeping the Torah. And if you think affiliating, you're associating with the heathen is worth you being suffering and mass murder going on, and you being tortured, raped, abused, misused in every kind of way unknown to a man, that you think all that's worth it for you just to have those relationships or those associations or affiliations, friendships, covenants with them, then go for it. But never say you were not warned. In 63. I need to stop there for a moment. Let you think about what your brother just said, sisters. Brothers, you too. Because some of you brothers are worse than the sisters are when it comes down to what the heathens want. I need to make them happy so I can get promoted. Make them happy so I can join their club. Make them happy so I can get front row seats. Make them happy so I can get some extra tickets for my friends. I hope all that's worth your soul. It isn't. Just to make it clear for you. It isn't. But I know that's not going to change many of our people. Again, we were warned. We're stubborn, rebellious people. Hard-necked, stiff-necked. No, they love the ways of the heathen. Their holidays, their pagan days, even though he told, learn not the ways of the Jeremiah chapter, and learn not the ways of the heathen. And just to cross-reference it with December 25th, when they sacrificing to their God who supposedly died for, the sins of the world. Do you realize that there's a Christmas tree that it mentions in Jeremiah 10 that said that it was identified with the heathen? That's what the heathen did, cut down a tree and decorate it with silver and gold. That's Jeremiah chapter 10. And you take and cross-reference that with 1 Maccabees, verse 59. It's easy to see if you want to see it. Now, if you want to, obviously, you still love the ways of the heathen and nothing's going to change you, then again, you were warned. Verse 63, wherefore rather to die that they might not be defiled with the meats, and that they may not profane the holy covenant, and so they died. And there was great wrath upon our people, Israel. And brothers and sisters, if we don't come from out this mess with these people and separate and get out of these people's religions and stop practicing these people's holidays and these heathens' cultures and all their so-called best practices, brothers and sisters, see, when all this stuff falls down, and it's about to fall down, I'm talking about this famine is coming, brothers and sisters. This tumult, the earth is moaning and groaning. It is about to fall down. What are you waiting for? When that grid goes down, and the lights get dark, your cell phone don't work anymore, your car ignition won't turn on because it's tied into the grid too. That's when it's going to hit you. That you should have had a plan in place and you should have executed that plan. You should have already connected with like-minded brothers and sisters going in the direction of their own, away from these cities and other places, suburbs and, hillside or whatever you are. A lot of people think they escape because they're living on property, but who lives around the property you live on? How are you going to defend yourself against them if they're not of your people? And they're coming to take your spoils, as you saw earlier in the studies, they took the spoils of Jerusalem. So they're going to come and take your stuff. How are you going to defend it by yourself, brother? Sister, how are you going to defend that by yourself? Are y'all young enough to fight them off? Because if you're not, this is the time now to make these covenants with your people I'm talking about. And you can't do that by missing. When we have Bible study, if you really are like-minded, you should be on that Bible study, unless there's no way possible to get on, just so you can build these acquaintances, relationships. Understand what we're doing. And how we're going to do it. We're not always going to be talking about it on the phone. I can assure you that. There's going to come a time where we're going to be meeting up like-minded ones. And I'm not talking about in the far yonder. Soon. And if you're with us, then you need to be with us and you need to show up. And I'm not just talking about showing up, you follow me? Again, I'm talking about showing up in every way. Conference call, the videos, sharing the videos, emailing, discussing things, questions about things, insights, sharing your thoughts about things, coming up with your ideas, witty ideas. Putting your selfishness aside and saying, what does Abba expect of me as a daughter of Zion? I'm doing it. What does Abba expect of me as a son of Zion? I'm doing it. I don't care if it goes against what I was taught. What does it matter what I was taught if I was taught wrong? And that's where I'm going to leave this study, brothers and sisters. And I hope this Shabbat finds you well. I hope this Shabbat finds you home. But if you are out and about, I want you to think about that. Think about what we studied. These people intentionally try to keep us not keeping the Shabbat. And whenever we're allowing things to move us away from the Shabbat, we're putting ourselves and the people we love in danger. And I know we're in captivity and some of us got to work and, and other things. But brothers and sisters, that's where you have to become a little, you're going to have to take a stand and go talk to the boss or whoever you talk to, your supervisor. You know damn body your boss. Abiyah is your boss, but you know how all people are. And let it be known, hey, look, I'm an Israelite. I keep the Torah, and I need to be off. I can assure you, if you were one of them fake, Jews, and went over there talking, they wouldn't have them working on Saturday. And nobody would question them. They went on the job and said, well, on Saturdays, I keep the Shabbat. Nobody would say a word. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. No problem. So what's wrong with you asking? Why are you afraid? Are you afraid because you don't believe who the Bible says, the book says you are? Are you denying your bloodline because you're fearful, feeble, weak? I don't know. It's a question you have to answer. But more than anything else, brothers and sisters, time to hunker down. Y'all willing, maybe we'll have another message between now and Wednesday. But, if we don't, then look forward to hearing your voices on the Bible study this coming Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time. And again, don't let anything stop you from getting on the study. Just come, learn, grow, protect yourself, protect your family. Okay? So looking forward to hearing your voice there. If y'all willing, we can get there. By then, the main channel should be back up. So in the meantime, subscribe to this channel, share this channel, brothers and sisters. All right? And I'm going to do my best. Y'all willing. He'll decide. Even when the other channels back up to continue to cultivate, because they're going to strike it again. They're not going to let this go. They're going to shut us down, brothers and sisters. All of us, not just your brother, every last one of us. They're coming for us. That's why we need to be together so we can be around each other and talk and learn and help and teach until Abiyah comes. Whether we be in the valley of Jehoshaphat or wherever we are. You're the target. And never forget it. DFG, talk to you soon. Bye now.